The Cowboys are eliminated, but they won their game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now we're asking, is Mike McCarthy safe? We'll talk about that and more takeaways on tonight's show. Let's get to it. What's up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central, and catching up with you Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays with quick-hitting videos such as this one. What a game. Let's get that out of the way. I know the Cowboys were not fighting for anything. I know the Cowboys were mathematically eliminated hours before kickoff by the Commanders' win over the Philadelphia Eagles, which essentially assured that we're going to get 3 wildcard teams with at least 10 wins, a number which the Cowboys cannot reach. And as such, the Cowboys are done for the year. I know about all that. And we can get into the conversation as to how much should we be celebrating this versus criticizing the whole season that has been for the Cowboys. But let's get this out of the way. It was a fun game. Right, the Cowboys going up against the Tampa Bay Bucs, playing some villain ball and trying to ruin the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' path to the playoffs, which essentially they did, because now the Atlanta Falcons control their own destiny. They don't have it easy. They don't have it easy because they still need to win some games. The Buccaneers might just steal the division in Week 18, but the Cowboys really threw a wrench the Buccaneers' way, and that's fun. That's fun, particularly when the Cowboys are playing good football. And that is a thing that surprises me the most about last night. The fact that I saw the Cowboys offense play well. I saw the Cowboys defense play well. And don't get me started on special teams. I mean, Brandon Aubrey hitting 3 50-plus yard field goals, adding a 49-yarder on top, like a cherry on top, just so we can say that he kicked for over 200 yards combined, 218 in total, because he had 2 58-yarders, a 53-yarder, and then the 49 one. So it was an overall team effort that got the Cowboys their 7th win of the year. And when you think about games like, for example, the Bengals game, the defense did pretty well, came up with some big plays, but the offense was not really clicking, right? And I'll go one step further. The thing that was really fun is that Mike McCarthy walked into that game with a clear vision as to what the game was going to look like. Because you were on the heels of 3 consecutive strong performances by running back Rico Dowdle. For the last 3 weeks, the Cowboys had bet on Rico and saw the dividends pay off. And now, this was Mike McCarthy being like, nah, I'll put it on Cooper Rush. This will be a Cooper Rush game. And it really was. Cooper Rush was pretty good in this game. And you know, obviously there is some accuracy issues as always. He almost had a costly pick, which would have ruined the night for the Cowboys probably. But Cooper Rush, here's some of the things that he did. Obviously, he passed for 292 yards, which is the second most this season for Cooper. The first most, right? The most yards that he's passed for in a single game was when he threw like 80 million passes against the Houston Texans, and he got to like 354, something like that. But this was his best game, second best game in terms of total yards. His average per attempt was of 8.3 yards. He entered the game with 5.7 yards per attempt in average. Rush had 2 big-time throws. He completed 5 passes beyond 10 yards. And out of the Cowboys' 15 total first downs, which were not much, by the way, and I think that is worth the conversation, but 12 were through passing. And even at the end of the game, when the Cowboys had the game on the line and they needed to kill the clock, on second down, they passed the football, right? They ran play action. They had Cooper Rush roll out, finding CeeDee Lamb on the right flat. And then obviously on third down, they had to throw the ball to get the first down. So they had to risk it. They had to gamble a little bit there. But Mike McCarthy was fine putting it on Cooper Rush. And the scheme was fun to watch as well on Sunday Night Football, because you had Jalen Tolbert, right? It was a 3-by-1 look, 3 receivers to the right side of the offense, and Jalen Tolbert is at the number 2 position, right? Counting from the outside in, 1, 2, 3, he was at the number 2 position, and then they run kind of like a switch route, and they force Jalen Tolbert on a linebacker versus man coverage, and they're going to win that rep every single time. So You saw Mike McCarthy show up on Sunday with the right game plan and with fire play calling. And I think that had to do a lot with the fact that the Buccaneers were really banged up on their secondary, right? No Antoine Winfield. They've been struggling against deep shots, which the Cowboys took plenty of. Shout out to Craig Smith, actually, from A to Z Sports, who covers the Buccaneers. He told me during the week, he was like, nah, this shouldn't be a Rico Dowdle game. They should challenge the Buccaneers defense. And I was like, well, that sounds cute and all, but we have Cooper Rush playing quarterback for the Cowboys. I don't know how I feel about all that. And yet it was exactly what happened. Craig Smith from A to Z Sports, he was spot on. The Cowboys walked at AT&T Stadium and they had a plan and they executed it, and it was pretty cool. Now, on top of that, I'm sure by now you've heard this. It looked like the Cowboys were bringing the fight. It looked like they were fighting for something. Jerry Jones maybe took it too far when he said, hey, Mike McCarthy, he won't have them thinking that they're not playing for anything other than the Super Bowl. So he's going to have them motivated every time. And that seems like significant praise for someone who you're probably still on the fence as far as extending him versus not, right? Which is what Jerry Jones's situation is right now. But it's true to a degree, right? Like this defense, this offense, this special teams unit, they were all fighting. You saw CeeDee Lamb go shoulder first into the ground in pain and still going out there and not missing a lot of snaps, still playing, giving it his all. You saw not Eric Kendricks, Maurice Leofau and Nick Vigil play like 99% of the snaps. Damone Clark had one snap on defense all game long, despite no Overshown, no Kendricks. They were barely taking any time off, these dudes. So it was an impressive feat, I think, from the Cowboys. Now, this has basically sparked the conversation about, well, what does this mean for Mike McCarthy? And I really do think that when Jason Garrett said in the pregame show that he believes Jerry Jones has not made up his mind yet, I believe that to be true. And the thing about last night is I don't know if the Cowboys should bring back McCarthy or not. I kind of lean towards saying no, because I kind of think that when we get into the whole problems that surround the Cowboys organization, ideally, you want someone to really push them past all of that, right? Someone who takes control, someone who puts the front office in check, or you want a masterful play caller on game days. You want all that, and I get it. But what I do think is true, regardless of whether or not Mike McCarthy should return, is that when you make that decision, what we saw last night has to factor in the fight that you saw from the players. It has to be a part of the conversation. Does it hold enough weight for you to decide that, hey, we're going to run it back with Mike McCarthy? No, not by itself. But it's got to be a part of the conversation when you're sitting down and talking about it. I don't know if he did enough, honestly, because I think that you still have so many question marks about this team. And I think one of the biggest ones, and I saw some people on Twitter yesterday, and I'm not knocking them or anything like that. I really am not, because I think the conversation is so complex to fit it into a 240-character tweet. But I saw so many people asking like, well, what does all of this mean for Dak Prescott, right? Because some of the best football that we've seen from the Cowboys this year has taken place without Dak on the field. Now, let me be clear. That does not mean, oh yeah, get rid of Dak. Dak is the problem. That doesn't mean any of it. But it might mean, are you overcomplicating things with Prescott? Are you... And it's funny to me because we talked about this back in 2020 when Dak Prescott missed so many games, right? Or actually, it was in 2022 when Cooper Rush went 4-1 with the Cowboys. Remember? Was that 2022 or 2021? I don't remember. It was one of the two. I think it was 22. Sorry. My point being, I understand that Dak knows how to do everything at the line of scrimmage. I understand that he is one of the few quarterbacks in the NFL that truly plays the position old school style with him making all of the checks, with him running all of this static looks because he likes to read the defense and all that. But you should probably find a balance. You can tap into the benefits of having a high IQ quarterback that knows how to run the show as well and as smoothly as Dak Prescott is able to, while also giving him gimmies, right? Making things simple for him, which the Cowboys seem to have done with Cooper Rush so many times before. And again, if you simplify the offense to the point of taking away reads for the quarterback, then you get into a dangerous game because suddenly you're not maximizing what your quarterback can do, the kind of offense that he can run, the concepts that he can run out on the field. But you got to find a balance, I think, because at times it felt like everything for Dak was super hard. And then at times you see Cooper Rush just running a smooth show for 292 yards while taking some deep shots as well and doing all that. So I think we got to get that reminder that the Cowboys might still find that sweet spot, might still need to find that sweet spot. And I think that's one of the biggest question marks that you got to have for Mike McCarthy when you decide what you're going to do. I also think it's going to take some time, right? Didn't we just get a trailer for Netflix where Jerry Jones is being like, oh, it's a 365-day soap opera. Keep him talking, right? That's the 2 lines or 3 lines from Jerry Jones in that documentary trailer. Excuse me, are those. And one of the funny things to me is that when you think about things like the McCarthy deal and you see Jerry Jones as excited and you see Jerry Jones dropping those quotes supporting Mike McCarthy, you got to take them with a grain of salt and ask yourself, well, is he just trying to get us talking about whether or not they're going to bring him back? Or does he really believe all that he's saying? Because at this point, you cannot trust Jerry Jones when it comes to his comments to the media, I would say. That's what I would argue. But anyways, I don't know if Jerry Jones, I don't know if Mike McCarthy did enough. I do think that last night's game should be a part of the conversation, and I'm very intrigued about what things are going to look like when it's all said and done. With that being said, a few more takeaways from the game from my end before we get out of here. And one of the top ones has to be that one that I just went through. Mike McCarthy bet on a weakness from the Bucs. That was the passing defense. So he said, you know what? F it. I'll just let it fly with Cooper Rush. And they did so successfully. Mike Zimmer's defense, though. Mike Zimmer's defense, I think we're all on the same page that they've improved. And I said last week, hey, I want to see them go up against a number 5 offense in the NFL in EPA per play, which is what the Bucs were, by the way. So this was a quality opponent as far as offense goes. You saw Maris Leofau and Donovan Wilson breaking up big plays, laying the boom, just straight up destroying receivers over the open field. You saw Wilson's best game of the season easily. You saw Jordan Lewis, and boy, this was my favorite moment of the game, was Jordan Lewis securing the interception towards the end of the game. Because it just felt like the final payoff of such a strong year for Jordan Lewis, who has consistently been one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He's one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the league. He's underpaid, and he's a victim of being short. Like, he's a victim of being small. He really is. Because I think if he had the measurables, people would talk wonders about Jordan Lewis. I don't know how much money he can get next season, right? Jordan Lewis, I think he's going to hit 30 years old next year. He's from the 2017 NFL draft, so he's from 95. Yeah, he's going to be 30 years old next year. And he's undersized, and he's a nickel cornerback. So I think NFL teams might mess around and screw up again and ignore Jordan Lewis. But he should get paid. He should get paid this offseason. I don't know if it will happen. And I hope if it happens, it's through the Cowboys. But yeah, that pick, it just felt like the culmination of such a strong season. You saw Durham Lance still in the game with a forced fumble, and he also had passes defended. something has clicked for this Mike Zimmer defense, and that's exciting. And I still wonder, what does the future look like for Zimmer if McCarthy does not return? Because if McCarthy returns, then obviously they're going to run it back with Zimmer. That is completely guaranteed. But if McCarthy is out, do the Cowboys do this thing where they're like, yeah, we'll hire a coach, but we won't let you do your staff because we're going to keep Mike Zimmer. And if we're keeping Mike Zimmer, we're likely keeping Al Harris. And it would be kind of disappointing if the Cowboys get a new head coach and then we're asking for someone who keeps the front office in check. But if you're keeping Mike Zimmer, then that automatically means that the front office is calling the shots and being like, yep, we've got your defensive coordinator. And someone like Ben Johnson, someone like, the top coaching candidates that a Cowboys Nation would want, they're not going to let that fly, I would assume. If we're talking about somebody like an old school coach, maybe. But even then, it cannot be a defensive-minded guy. You know what I mean, right? That's obvious. But anyways, Brandon Aubrey. It's another takeaway from me. Just utterly marvelous. I don't know what else I can say. He's chasing history right now. 14 50-plus yard field goals, the most ever in a single season in the NFL. And we got a Sammy Sosa, Maguire situation cooking up for the Cowboys and the Texans because they've got a couple of kickers chasing the same record. And we might get a fun couple of weeks out of them before the year is over. So it's going to be fun. Final takeaway from me, shout out CeeDee Lamb. He is truly special. 105 yards, 7 catches. He had a 34-yard gain, a 52-yard gain, and then the 10-yard gain, which he willed into existence to set up that Ezekiel Elliott touchdown from 1 yard out. Just CeeDee is this guy that he has buried all of the narrative suggesting that he wasn't or he didn't have the right attitude when things were not going their way. The season is not going the Cowboys' way, and CeeDee has become one of the top leaders on the team. And that's so fun to watch, especially after he was paid earlier in the year. You just appreciate someone like CeeDee stepping up the way that he has. So shout out to him. And yeah, man, we're going to talk so much more about this Cowboys team over the week. We're going to talk about them being eliminated. I don't know that that's any news. Obviously it is. I'm not trying to be that guy who's like, why are people posting that the Cowboys were eliminated? Of course people are going to post about that. It's news. It became official, right? You had to cover it. But that being said, if we're being real, we've been talking about this team like it's an eliminated team for quite a few weeks now. So that changes nothing, honestly. But yeah, the Cowboys are done for the year. 2 more games. Will they play some villain ball? We'll see. It's going to be fun. You get the Eagles and the Commanders up next. Can you throw a wrench into one of these teams' plans? And hey, Jalen Hurts is in the concussion protocol. I would expect him to play next Sunday, but it's not a guarantee. So there's that. For now, though, hit the like button for me if you enjoyed the show. And I'll see you tomorrow or on Thursday or on Wednesday, excuse me. I'll see you tomorrow. I won't see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow or on Wednesday. I'll get back to you on that. But hope that you enjoy your Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day. And shout out to all of you. Bye-bye.